And we're live. Hey, it's Bill Gross here, the LAProbate expert.com. And continue my interview series today. I'm really excited to have Jess Greenburg from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Hi, city of brotherly love, the hometown of both of my parents, and who is a digital marketing specialist. I get that right?
You got it right.
What the heck does that mean? Let's start with that, Jess. What is a digital marketing specialist?
So as a digital marketing specialist, I help people promote their businesses, organizations, or nonprofits digitally. So I don't do any print or like billboards. So I'm not going to help somebody like design a billboard or get an ad in a magazine. But what I will do is help them run their social media, create a website, do digital advertisements like what you see on Google and YouTube, help them with copywriting for a website or a blog. Anything in kind of that realm. If I can do it on my computer, great. Yeah, that's basically what I do.
We're COVID friendly that way, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. That definitely came in handy, let me tell you.
So, you do this as a contractor, or what's the term that you would use? You're not doing it as a full-time employee. You're doing this as a businesswoman. So what's the term you would use? What's your relationship with the customer?
Yeah, so I typically do contract work with people. I used to call it freelancing, and I sometimes use that term, but I think contractor, really describes the relationship, right? Like we think of contractors as people who come and work on our houses and make them more beautiful.
Right.
And I'm working on someone's business and making it look more beautiful online.
Exactly. Good. That's a good put it. So I found you on Upwork, right? Which for me works because I have multiple people doing some different things, and it kind of assembles the billing and the hours and the control. And to start a relationship, it's a great place to start. What percentage of your clients come through Upwork or other similar, or is it word of mouth, or how do you typically find clients, or how do they find you?
Yeah, so I've been on Upwork since 2015. So about 75% of my clients come through that platform. It is, it's free for people to sign up and just look for, contractors and freelancers. So it's pretty low stakes for people needing the type of work that I do. And I'm a top rated freelancer on
Yes, you
Upwork.
are. Yes, you are.
So I show up pretty high in the rankings, which makes it really easy for people to find me on there. And then I do have word of mouth clients. Somebody will find out what I do, refer me to their friend. You've done that before. And sometimes, I've had my parents refer me, a couple of people.
Mom and dad, way to go.
Yeah, that was actually pretty recently. It took me doing this for about 5 years for my dad to be like, "Can I refer you someone?" And I'm like, "Of course you can. Send them my way."
If your dad's not going to, who's going to, huh?
Right? Yeah.
Okay, Dad, if you're watching this, come on,
yeah,
Dad.
Send me some more business.
Yes.
So most of my clients do come through Upwork, but I, meet people all the time. One day I was having to get the oil changed in my car, and I met a client that way. So I got chatting with the specialist, and it turned out he had like a side hustle, and he needed somebody to help him with some advertisements. So, yeah.
Oh, how about that? So if somebody wanted to reach you directly, how would they find you?
So the best way to get in touch with me directly is either through my website, which will be in the description on YouTube and LinkedIn and all those places. And I'll go ahead and put it in. It'll be in the description on YouTube. So my website is jessgreenburg.weebly.com, or you can find me on LinkedIn, Jess Greenburg. And yeah, that's the best way to get in touch with me. There's a contact form on my website, or just send me a message on LinkedIn.
And interesting. So for me as a user, when I started, it was convenient to use Upwork because they took credit cards and you kind of know who they are. There's that thing. But people who find you directly, not going through Upwork, do credit card, PayPal? How do you manage that process?
Yeah, so I have invoicing software and accounting software and all of that. So I can accept any form of payment, anything like that. I just send people invoices. I have clients pay me through PayPal, credit card, ACH transfer, all kinds of stuff like that. And Upwork also has a really cool feature where if you develop a client contractor relationship outside of Upwork, but you both create Upwork accounts and you bring it onto the platform, you can actually just run all the payment through Upwork and not pay any of their fees.
Wow.
So yeah, so if you establish the relationship on Upwork, there's a few percentage fees. I think it might be maybe 2 to 3% for the client and a little more for the contractor.
Nice.
But there's no fees if you develop the relationship off of Upwork and bring it on.
Okay, so a lot about, I'm interested in how to work with you because I am, but let's talk about why somebody would want to work with you. So let's talk about where, obviously people who use social media, for the most part, unless you're a larger corporation, you're really looking for some specific results, right? Or is that just me? Meaning, when I do something on social media, I'm trying to drive traffic to an event or particular types of leads. Is that what you find? Is that really the space you operate in?
Yeah, if a client doesn't know what their specific goal is with social media, that's the first thing I sit down with them and we do is figure out what that goal is and what is that measurement that we're going to use. What are those key performance indicators? So most people, they want to increase sales. They want to get more attendees at a webinar they're hosting. They want to broaden their network. Maybe they want to get more views on a YouTube channel. There's usually some kind of specific thing that they want to increase. And it's usually get more eyeballs on their content, sell more stuff, or get more people coming to an event. Those are usually the three things.
All three of those are good.
Yeah.
More goodness. So, and I think really what you're describing is somebody's built a machine and you're leveraging that machine to be able to run more hours a day to create more results, right?
Absolutely.
So what are the kinds of things when you see somebody in particular, and the space I work in is typically a real estate agent who's maybe making good living, but they're doing it on their own. They're kind of halfway into social media and maybe they're smarter than the average bear and they do some good stuff, but by and large, they're not really taking a overview, holistic, business-like approach to it. What are some of the most common mistakes you see, particularly of the solopreneur?
Yeah, so that's a great question. One of the biggest mistakes is thinking that you need to do something just because someone else is doing it. So I get clients all the time. I work with people in pretty much any industry. I have clients in healthcare, real estate, cosmetics, fashion, food and restaurant, nonprofits, education. I work with clients all over. And a lot of them will, they'll think, I need an Instagram because this company that I follow has an Instagram or our competitor has an Instagram. But that doesn't always make sense, right? I once had a dermatologist want to make an Instagram account specifically for their side business where they actually design a lot of like the laser hair removal equipment. And I was like, do you look at laser hair removal equipment on Instagram? No, you don't need an Instagram. There's other ways we can leverage, the internet to improve your business, and Instagram's not it. So a lot of people think that I saw this over here. Well, it might make sense for someone else and their business, but it doesn't mean it makes sense for your business. And so that's where somebody like me can be helpful to kind of let you know what all of these platforms are really useful for and if they're going to be successful for you and your business.
I'm in real estate and so many real estate agents are on Instagram. It's a very powerful tool and platform, and I get it. But my niche, as you know, is probate real estate. So I get some really ugly houses, really torn apart, scary. Now we're selling it. It's worth all the money, and I'm good at helping them get top dollar. But I don't get the house with the big, colonial front or the big kitchen and what I would call Instagram worthy photos. If I took my photos on Instagram, probably would break the whole platform. But you're right about having to be appropriate for the proper channel, and I think appropriate to their particular platform. Now it's interesting because I also find though that you have to be appropriate to your particular audience, meaning, in Facebook, because I work with so many real estate agents and attorneys, I can kind of talk in my format because those people follow me. It may not be the middle of the road on Facebook's platform, but if I'm authentic, I feel like people kind of relate to me personally or relate to business-wise. How do you help a solopreneur kind of find their voice or find their authentic self to present that effectively in social media?
So I do help people with that. And it's so much fun. And it's always interesting to see people kind of develop that way. Because oftentimes what happens is that people create content that they want to see, but we want to see content that's not really us, right? Like if we're going to turn on TV and watch a TV show, we don't want to see someone whose life is like ours. We want to see something different, right? We live our own lives, but that's not why people follow us on social media. That's not why people visit our websites, right? Somebody follows you because they care about you and what you do. You're the LA probate expert. You know, you talk to all of these attorneys all day. You know the ins and outs of LA probate. You make all these deals. You have this huge network. So people want to see you, but you might not want to see you, right? So people, when they write their own content, they're writing what they want to see. They're writing like what they follow, but you have to write yourself. You know, when you type something up, it needs to be you because that's why people are following you. And kind of getting people to understand that and kind of become confident in just being their own voice and not thinking about what other people want to see is awesome because, you know, you already have followers and they're there for you. They already like you. Work with it.
Why work with people who don't know you? Why not work with people who already know you and like you? We all have more than we imagined. I coach realtors, and every day they want to spend time prospecting new people, spending money to find ads for new people. I say, who do you already know? Who already likes you? They're waiting to sell their house with you. You're just not presenting yourself in a way that's appealing to them on your value proposition.
Yeah.
You know, I found you kind of the backwards way because when I was looking for you, I saw your skill set and I could tell you were good the second I talked to you. But really what I have you do is really not the middle of the ground of what you're looking to do, right? I'm using you more for the logistics of the social media as opposed to the design part of it. So where do you really fit in that process with somebody with a small, solopreneur or a small organization? Are you designing from the beginning their image? Are you designing, working with them from the voice at the beginning and then kind of creating the creative stuff from there? Or what's the most common way that you get involved to help people?
So usually what happens is, and I get involved at all stages of the game. If people find me and they come talk to me, I'll work with them usually. But where people tend to come find me and want to get involved is usually they're in that kind of growth stage of their business. Maybe they've had it for a couple of years, maybe they've had it for 10 years, but they're in this growth stage and they've kind of reached this point where they've maxed out their personal maybe network of people, especially if they're maybe an e-commerce business. Maybe they've maxed out kind of their network of people. They know they need to do something else to get to the next level, but they are growing and they're growing really well. But because they're growing, they don't have time to manage their image themselves anymore. And they realize, if maybe they're a retail company and they're starting to get into boutiques, maybe if it's a food brand, they're starting to get on local grocery store shelves. They kind of realize I'm starting to get more in the big leagues and my website doesn't look like someone else's website, or my social media doesn't look and sound like someone else's social media. And they realize they don't have the time to do it themselves anymore. And they maybe don't have the knowledge to do it themselves anymore. So then they hire someone like me.
What have you seen as the biggest change, since COVID started? What has been the biggest change that you see in strategies to reach people via social media?
Yeah, so people going live or doing video content has just exploded. And people being open to seeing not quite as professional video content has also exploded. A couple of years ago, non-professional video content was kind of saved for maybe like your friends or maybe that person selling Avon makeup on your Facebook page. But now it's everyone. It's not just people, selling Mary Kay or Tupperware. Like it's also, everyday businesses who are just wanting to feel real and authentic. And I think that has come from the lack of face-to-face social connection. So people want to hop on their phone and just watch someone's live Instagram for maybe 10 minutes or so. They want to see it on YouTube. They want to see things that are casual and everyday. With COVID, we all dress more casually. We've kind of broken down a lot of these barriers and these facades. And I think when people consume media now, they're more open to consuming something that is more relatable and more casual.
Yeah, I encourage, you've worked with some of the real estate agents that I've worked with and sent to you. And I'd say to all of them, you can't get great at anything till you get started, and you can add to it and get better and get better. And so over time, I've added some lighting. I've added a little better audio. I have some plans to do some other good things, but it's a process. But in the meantime, my business has really blown up during COVID. I had my best year ever last year, and I already closed more this year than all of last year. And a lot of it is I've been able to stay in touch with so many people thanks to some videos that, for the most part, they're not polished. I don't insult. I'm not gonna insult you because you help with it. I'm the producer, I guess, or director. You're more the social media manager part of it after the fact. So you can only, work with what I give you. But I do think that the power is being authentic to who I am, and I'm not a videographer. I'm not going to be, a polished personality. It's not my ambition, but it's my ambition to share information with people. And this is a tool that lets me do that. And I think for any entrepreneur, what is your value proposition to your customer? Can you leverage that with technology and get out there? So now we're kind of coming out of COVID, kind of. I was in New York last week and all kinds of excitement and everybody's out, but still not really back to normal. I'm here now in LA this week. And again, a lot of excitement, a lot of more stuff, but not quite back to normal. What do you see, or what are you preparing for going forward in the next few months or year transition? What do you see changing, if anything, as we go back to normal or hang out where we are, whatever that means? What do you see happening?
Yeah, I think there's going to be, positive things that I can see for my business and my clients is people being more open to working with people remotely, which is good for someone like me who my business has always been remote. But it really helps my clients when they're open to, not just hiring me remotely, but maybe other people as part of their team remotely. You can find amazing talent because you can work with someone no matter where they live in the country or even in the world. So I think that's a positive. I think that's really good. I think the way the job market and the labor market is working right now, I think that's going to be really interesting to see how that plays out. There's a lot of people who, this past year has just really made them kind of reprioritize what matters most to them. Maybe that's their family, maybe that's travel. So I think the way people work is going to shift. We're already seeing businesses kind of having to adapt to how they market a job, or maybe what the perks of the job are, what the description is, what the working hours are. So I think that I'm going to start seeing clients, trying to work within that more and trying to figure out, okay, maybe I don't hire as many people right now, or maybe I hire a bunch of people to work a few hours. So I think, I don't know exactly what it's going to look like, but I can tell it's going to change, and I'm pretty excited to see what it's going to look like.
I know for me that for most of my career, I've been in real estate since 1986, before you're born, as I remind you all the time, I would never venture outside 10 miles from my house because, drive time, you don't get paid, and maybe an hour outside of my house. But now with technology and COVID and online signing, I'm doing business in states, let alone counties around where I live. So in New York, for example. So it's an opportunity of a lifetime to do business nationally. And I imagine, now in my case, it's a national business, but I imagine in your case, it could even be international. Do you see yourself, has there been a change geographically, or do you do more business close to home, or is that just broken down for you entirely?
Yeah, so I've always had clients all over the country. But for the most part, ever since 2015, most of my clients were in the States or maybe Canada. This past year, at least 50% of my clients are now international. I have clients in Australia, Israel, Norway, Scotland, England, Ireland, Canada. There's a couple in there that I'm forgetting. Colombia. Yeah, I have clients all over Romania. So, and that's been really exciting. It's been really cool to just meet people from all over the world and see the similarities and differences in how we do business, and just kind of exchange those perspectives and differences. And yeah, it's been great.
Well, look at the opportunity it creates for you business-wise. That's amazing. I
Yeah.
had no idea. I really had no idea. I thought a couple, but wow, that sounds really exciting.
Yeah.
So if you were a business person who wasn't involved with social media at all, and I get a lot of realtors, real estate agents tend to skew older because homeowners tend to skew older. I should say home sellers. So people who are buying houses might be younger, but by the time you sell a house, they tend to be older and so on. I often get from real estate agents, well, I just don't, I'm not really technology oriented. I don't really know how to do this or that. So what's something that you would say is a good, simple first start? Of course, they have to have the desire, and they have to be willing to put themselves on the line. But what do you see as a good first and or second activity or start for somebody who needs to get more serious and professional and kind of upgrade the leverage they can get on social media?
Yeah. So first step I tell everyone is you need a website. And some people disagree with me. There's kind of some debates about this amongst kind of, people who work in my field, but I think everybody needs a website because that's still people's default. They go and they Google something or they Bing it or whatever people use. They're going to go do a search and they're going to find usually a website.
Right.
And social media is great, but you kind of have to maybe guess what someone's handle is going to be on a platform. There could be 12 real estate agents named Bill Gross, right? But a website is pretty easy. A website you can put on your business card. A website is something that you own and you have control over, and you don't have to worry about the terms and conditions or kind of the changing dynamics of a social media platform.
Right.
Most social media platforms, and it's in their terms and conditions, they can delete your account for any reason at any time. That sounds kind of scary. I don't usually see that happen to people, but it's something that could happen. A website is yours and you own it. And it doesn't take a lot to make a one-page website that looks really clean, really professional, has a way someone can contact you, has your photo so they know you're a real person and not a robot, has a nice logo. So starting with that website is really good. And there's something called search engine optimization, or SEO for short. And that's basically how you have keywords on your website, how you kind of code the back end of your website to make it appear very high in search engines. So if you put some time and money and energy into that, you can get some pretty good results and you'll come up pretty highly in the rankings on Google. And it's just a website. You don't necessarily have to update it constantly like you do a social media page.
There's Annabelle. Great information. Well, thank you, Annabelle. I think Annabelle's one of the agents that you work with a little bit on her multifamily interstate real estate investing call that just, I think, finished about an hour ago, right?
It did, yeah. I just got off of working with Annabelle on that. She's great.
Yeah.
She's somebody who I just recently started working with, and we're doing social media. I'm helping her with her weekly Zoom call, her Eventbrite management. I'm helping her get started building some landing pages. So yeah, Annabelle's great to work with.
So she gave us she said great information, and then after that she said Jess is awesome. Yes, Jess is awesome. So no doubt about it. That should be your website, jessisawesome.com. To your point though about the website, and one of the things that go along with that I recommend to people is you can buy multiple domain names, and especially if you can't decide, they're so cheap now. I remember years ago they were in the hundreds of dollars. Now you can buy them per year for like $10 or something.
Yeah.
And in my business now, I bought the domain probateweekly.com. I couldn't believe it when it was available. And that has been the number one driver of attendees to my call from the very beginning. And it's just for $10-20 a month, I just point it to where we want to go. And I've changed where it goes, but that domain is mine. And I have several different domain names that all point to my website. And I'm not that sophisticated with the SEO. I just know that I own them. And if I want to change my name, I can add a new name on top of what I have and not get rid of it. So what do you use, or what do you recommend for users, or do you handle that for domain name setup and registration?
Yeah, so I handle that with people to some extent. I have some tools that I use. HostGator is pretty good. But a lot of times people come to me and they've already maybe set up the domain name, and then they just kind of hand me the passwords and tell me to take it from there because they set it up, they bought it, and they don't want to touch it anymore. Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah. And Annabelle, so she needs help with that, need to drive more traffic to my weekly call. Well, I was talking to Annabelle. Annabelle, you and I have some a particular thing that we need to do to help you some traffic that's a little proprietary. I'm not going to put that in the call. I think Jess knows what it is, but we're going to keep it our secret for now. So, but thanks. Okay, so we have a website and we have our picture and our phone number people can reach us on. What's the next step? Because so many real estate agents, they get a company website. The mistake they make is they leave it with a company domain, which doesn't make any sense to me. But then what they need to do, I think, is find some way to get people to talk to. And so what is one or two steps from that point that you might tell somebody where they can use their digital marketing to leverage the work they're doing already in their business?
Yeah, so one thing you could do would be to set up like a Google ad account. And then you can kind of go in there and play with it. It's not super involved. It does help to have somebody to help you through it, but there are YouTube videos to help you, or you can hire someone like me. But there's a lot of ad targeting. And so that's kind of what you want, which it's basically going to allow you to choose exactly the type of person you want to see your content. And you really have to think about it, because I think real estate agents and entrepreneurs in general, we kind of have that business mindset of, okay, my client is Jenny Johnson, and she is a 35-year-old businesswoman who lives in the Atlanta, Georgia region, and she works in this industry. And we kind of have this idea in our head of who our client is, but we don't have to have that idea. Google will figure that out for you, right? You just have to figure out what they're searching for. So maybe, we've all had those like creepy moments where we talk about something with a friend, like, oh, I think I'm going to go buy a set of GE light bulbs. And then you pull out your phone and the next thing you see is an ad for GE light bulbs, right? And it's not always that, creepy and on the nose. But, people who searched for product A might also want to search for product B. Or you can find people who have already searched for your product or your keywords or your service or your industry and hit them with the ad. And maybe that person is an 18-year-old and most of the people who buy from you are 55-year-olds. But it doesn't matter, right? You don't have to necessarily do all of the demographic targeting. You can base it on what people have searched for before, what websites have they visited before. Mm-hmm. So going in there and playing with that is really great. And it's kind of low stakes because you're only paying for people who click on your ad. Mm-hmm. If 100,000 people see your ad, you don't have to pay $100,000. You're only going to pay for the people who clicked on it. And that's okay, because that's what you want. You want someone clicking on it and going to your website. So that's one thing.
You had to figure out what's the value of somebody clicking on my website. If there's a value to that, if you know it's worth a quarter, you pay 10 cents, you're going to make a profit every time somebody clicks on your website.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that someone can do after, maybe they've already done the ads or maybe they're not interested in that. If you don't have any social media yet, or like your social media accounts exist, but they're kind of dead, just pick one. For real estate agents, I would usually recommend that be Facebook or LinkedIn, because they're very network based and they're also quite text based. So you can write a lot about a property. And then just learn how to do that. Get good at doing that. Make it part of your daily or weekly routine to write a post, to like someone else's post, to comment, to follow someone. Get it in your routine. Just start with one. And if you master that one, that is worth having an account on every single site that you never touch. Yeah.
Well, great. Well, look, I think you've given us some nice starting points. And we're kind of coming to our end of our time here today. So we're going to put in the description your contact info. But for somebody who's watching this again, your website is Jess Greenburg.
.weebly.com, and my last name is spelled Greenburg, since everyone always asks.
Weebly, Weebly.com.
Yep.
And also you're on LinkedIn. You'll put your profile there as well for people who want to see that. Anybody who knows me, feel free to text or email me if you want. Just say how to get in contact with Jess. I'll take care of that for you. She's given me permission to forward the good people and not forward the bad people, so I can take care of that for her as well. And look, I'm a happy customer myself. But I also want to see her business grow and want to see all of our businesses grow. So if I can help you grow your real estate practice, business, increase your income, increase your wealth, reach out to me personally. Love to set up a time. And we'll take it from there. Jess, any last questions before we run?
No, this has been awesome. Thanks for having me, Bill.
I've enjoyed it. We talk all the time. It's nice to go into detail and find out more. It's funny. I've been working with you now for 3 months, 6 months. Yeah. I had no idea what the heck you were doing. So it's nice to find out, and really appreciate your time together, and have a great weekend. I think we'll be talking tomorrow.
Yep. Bye, everyone.
Thanks. Bye-bye.